What's up, nerds? My name is Cory Bergeron. You are watching Cory Bergeron Recordings, and we're back with a brand new video. And in this video, I'm going to be doing a home studio tour kind of video. It's been about a year and a half since I've made a video like this. And if you go back and watch my 2018 one, you'll notice a couple things. Obviously, a lot has changed here. I've grown some hair since then. As well as I've kind of found my groove in making YouTube videos, because at that point, that was one of my first attempts at trying to talk to a camera. So a lot has changed since then. First thing you should know about this basement studio is that I only mix and demo down here. I don't do any professional tracking. If I do track, I walk across the street and I go to Pebble Studios, and that's where I do the majority of my tracking. So I'm going to grab this camera, I'm going to go handheld, I'm going to walk around and show you guys my little setup. And then after that, I'm going to come back here, I'm going to talk about some of the gear, and then I'm going to talk about what I want to do going forward and what pieces of gear I'd like to purchase and kind of my mindset going into the new year. So let's walk around and show you what I got going on. All right, so we are going to do this home studio tour. My home studio is actually in the basement, but I live with a bunch of musicians, so I figured I would show you the main floor to show you the chaos that I live in day to day. There are instruments everywhere. Okay, so this is the main floor. Over there we have a piano. It sounds like this. Somewhat in tune. And then over here we have an organ, an electric Wurlitzer organ from, I believe, I think the year's 1958. Sounds like this. I'm sure my neighbors love that. But yeah, it's got some interesting, cool sounds to it. I've got to find a way to actually use this thing on something. Beside it, we have a bunch of gear that goes in and out weekly with the gigging musicians that live in the house. And then besides that, tucked away in this corner, we've kind of turned these old recording machines into, I guess, art around the house. They are fully functional. This is what my grandfather used to listen to music on. This is one of my friends. Him and his brother used to make demos on this. And then this is an old battery-powered cassette recorder. And we actually use this on my band's record, All Out. All the cassette sounds on the last song are from this recorder right here. Okay, now we're going to work our way towards the basement. This is where my home studio is. It's still in a bit of a transitional period for me getting back from tour and bringing stuff back and forth between here and Pebble Studios all the time. But I'm going to go through, and I'm going to talk about all the gear here, and then we'll go from there. So coming downstairs, this is what we see. Right in front of me, we have a bunch of guitar cases, very interesting. No guitars in them. They're all over there on the guitar rack. This is kind of where I just stored the cases. Again, very interesting. Above it, we have tour laminates from tours that I've been on. There's a couple missing. I have a bad habit of losing my tour laminates on the tours, but those are the ones I managed not to lose. Beside it here on the left, we have the Roland JX3P with the PG200 attachment. This is my father's synth. I went out and found this add-on and bought the cable off eBay. This synth is amazing. This is kind of my introduction into the synth world. It has full MIDI functionality, so I can route stuff into it and out of it. And the sounds on here are awesome. Being able to manipulate them is awesome. And I will probably do a demo of this unit sometime soon. But yeah, this thing is amazing. We got my pedal board here. It's a disaster. I do not want to show you it. Over here, we have a clarinet hiding in the corner. And then we have another crappy little Facebook find. This is a Facebook Marketplace organ. I think I paid $50 for this and the chair. And it sounds like this. Very, not that cool. Now this thing has actually been used on this record here. It was used on the songs Out of Sight in the second verse, and it was also used on Honey. Fun fact. But again, the coolest thing about this is probably this chair. Check this out. We got a moose, feathers, a heart, a bear, a fish. That was the real lucky find, not so much the organ. I'm gonna turn this off now. Moving beside it, we have a crappy couch. And then moving beside that, we have this cassette deck 4-track cassette deck. So this is a Fostex 260. This is actually, again, my father's. This is what he used to use to demo his bands back in the 80s. 4 tracks, 2-band EQ. And I made a video about this a while ago. I plan to make more. I got absolutely roasted in the comment section saying I was using the wrong cassette tape. So when I make the new videos, I'm going to have the right type of cassette. To the left of it, we have 2 little synths here. This is a microKORG. This thing does not get very much love these days, but underneath it, we have the Casio Tone MT540. I don't think this is a synthesizer by definition, but this thing is amazing. It's got these little tones and presets here. I love the way this thing sounds. My roommate was gonna throw this thing in the garbage when he was moving because he thought it was just some sort of toy, and I'm very glad he didn't. So I kind of kidnapped it from him, and yeah, I'm gonna make a demo of this thing as well because this thing is super cool. I believe it's from 1984. To the left of this, we have the guitar rack. Nothing too exciting. Honorable mentions being the Evertune Fender Telecaster. Besides that, we have the Fender 6 bass, which I'm currently borrowing. Thought it was a cool concept. It's a 6-string bass guitar, so it's tuned in the octave of the bass range, but it has 6 strings on it. But ultimately, it's kind of a bad guitar and a bad bass. So no dice on that. Besides that, we have my trusty Reverend Charger 290. This is what I play live with my band Locket. Still has the screws in the headstock from when I broke it almost 3 years ago now. And then besides that, we have a Fender Jazz bass. This is just a workhorse studio bass. Nothing too exciting. So here we go. Now we're at the most exciting part. This is where I sit down every single day and spend way too much time. And this is my little mixing space. So let's go through it. I guess the heart of the place would be the Hackintosh that I have that I'll explain in more detail towards the end, but I've been using this for a couple years, and besides one RAM stick failing, there have been no issues with that. My interface is this Focus Scarlett 2i2. Again, I'll probably talk about it later in this video, but I've had one of these die. This is the second one, and so far no problems with it. For the monitoring, we have the Atom A7X. We have a pair of them. We have them now on stands. If you watched the last video, I didn't have them on stands. And I will say that I was surprised at the difference it made actually having the speakers on stands versus having them on my desk. You actually get like a clearer sound to your ears. It's kind of a weird phenomenon. So I would recommend having speaker stands if you don't have them. And then attached to those, which again is different from the last time I did an update, is I actually have a real deal sub. I have a Yamaha HS8 sub. That's been a game changer for me. I highly recommend using that sub. And in front here, I have my trusty Kemper. I've made a couple videos on this. It's nice to have a desk that fits all my stuff so I can have it constantly set up so I can just plug in. I don't have to leave my chair. I can grab a guitar, I can grab a patch cable, I can plug it in, and then I can record. And that's kind of what I wanted from this whole thing. And I think that's about it. I have hard drives over there. I have this little webcam that I bought off Amazon for $50. I don't know the name of it. The quality of this thing sucks, but this is how I stream live on Twitch, as well as if I'm doing an in the mix video, this is kind of the camera I use for that. Beside the camera, I have this little painting that my girlfriend did of the album Ammo by Bring Me the Horizon, and she did a good job. Look at that. So that's basically it. Over here is kind of like extra stuff. So I have the original Legend of Zelda in box, a bunch of extra guitar pedals, hard drives. This is supposed to be a gift from my mom, but I broke the hand off it. Some old CDs that I worked on. This is my video gear. And then this is a bunch of garbage and crap and guitar magazines and stuff. And last but not least, we have this giant photo of Taylor Swift on the Rolling Stone magazine cover from March 5th, 2009. A coworker gave this to me a handful of years ago. I think it makes my girlfriend jealous, but it is what it is. And again, a couple more records that I worked on. And Zelda poster. That's that. Okay, I'm gonna sit down and talk to you guys now. All right, so you just saw my setup. Let's talk about my gear a little bit. Now, the two things to me that matter the most are having a powerful computer and having a great monitoring system. So my computer is a Hackintosh, as I mentioned, and I had it built for me in the summer of 2017. I believe I invested about $1,500 Canadian into it. Over the time that I've had it, I've only had one issue where a RAM stick died, but besides that, it's been rock solid. It's still super powerful. It speeds up my workflow, and it lets me do everything that I want to do. So the Hackintosh has been a good purchase. When I bought it back in 2017, I had a lot of people telling me not to do it, but so far it's been a good investment. And whenever it comes time to build a new computer, I will consider getting a Hackintosh. My biggest motivation for it was obviously I could cut a lot of cost building a Hackintosh versus buying a Mac. So we'll see what happens whenever it comes time to get a new computer. So my monitoring system consists of my Adams A7X as well as the newly added Yamaha HS8 sub. The last video I made, I actually didn't have the HS8 sub. I had a cheap subwoofer. It kind of did the job, but if you pushed it too hard, it would start to distort and all this stuff. I didn't realize how crappy my old sub was until I got the Yamaha HS8 down here. There's tons of headroom. It's super clear, and to be frank, it's way too powerful for this room, so I have it at a moderate level, but it has been a day and night difference going from my old sub to this one here. I highly recommend, if you're looking for a subwoofer, to get the Yamaha HS8. So yeah, I have a great computer still, and I love my monitoring system, and those are the two things that are most important to me. The obvious weak point in my home studio is my Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. I'm sure if you look at any review or comment section of any review, you'll see people knocking the preamps and the converters, and they're probably right to some degree, but you have to look at the value you're getting for the money you're spending. So let's make an example here. I could spend the exact same amount of money that I spent on my monitoring system and my computer just on one high-quality A-class preamp. Now, that would be a terrible decision because the value I'm getting out of having one preamp versus having a super fast workflow and a great monitoring system isn't even comparable, right? So the point I'm kind of making here is there's always going to be room for improvement, so make sure when you're putting together a home studio that you're buying the things that push you along, provide value to you, and then when the time comes, you can upgrade when you need to. I think that made sense. Okay, this kind of brings me into my next point, being what do I want to upgrade in the new year? So going into 2020, I would like to purchase an interface that has at least 8 preamps, and the reason for that is because I do a lot of demoing down here, and I use a lot of different instruments, and right now I have the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, which only has 2 inputs. So if I'm recording, let's say, my synth stereo, and then I get a vocal idea and I want to lay down that quickly, I have to unplug and then plug in my microphone, get that set up, and then let's say I want to record a bass idea after that. Now I have to unplug the vocal and plug in my bass guitar. What that does is it adds friction to the creative process, and if you've ever created something, you know, having those barriers makes it increasingly harder to create something, and it takes you out of that creative flow. So I want an interface that I can have everything plugged in at all times, and I just know that 1, 2 is my synth, 3 is my vocal, 4 is my Kemper, and everything's plugged in and ready to go at all times. On the mixing end of things, I would like to treat this room a little bit better. Right now the ceilings are bare and there's some comb filtering happening between the floor and the ceiling, different points in the room, so I'd like to address that. As well as I'd like to get a pair of Avantones, which are just small studio monitors, something that's just really mid-range heavy, something that's a little different than my Adams, just to have in my current mixing process. Once I get to a point where I feel like the track is coming together and I want to listen to it in different speakers, I have a bunch of crappy computer monitors littered around the house where I can just walk up and plug it in and press play. But I think just having a second pair of monitors plugged in and ready to go at all times that has a different frequency response will give me a different perspective and just make it easier for me to make decisions and keep moving forward. And then on the instrument side of things, I would love to get another Evertune guitar, but one that is set up and has humbuckers installed on it. Right now I have my Fender Telecaster with the Evertune bridge on it, and it's great, no complaints, but a lot of bands that I record use humbuckers, and so I think it would be very wise to have a guitar set up with humbuckers in it, because recording with the Evertune makes my life so much easier. So the more I can use guitars with Evertune bridges on them, the easier my life becomes, and I will gladly put money into something that makes my life easier. Okay, so there it is. A quick little video showing off my little home studio and how far it's come in the 1 year. You know, obviously I got some new synths, new desk, and some other new toys, and also talking a little bit about where I want to take it in the following year. If you have a home studio, let me know what you want to purchase or what the next thing you think you need for your studio is. And real quick, my band is going on tour in January with the bands Home Safe and Bogues. We are direct support on that tour, and we have this is the tour flyer, and here are all the dates. So if you live in any of those cities and you want to hang out, come out to a show, and yeah. Okay, that's it. I will see you in the next video. Create more, create more, create more.